In that case, may I suggest we adjourn to the study for coffee and brandy? At which point I believe our unknown host will reveal his intentions.
Well, there's no one here.
Please help yourself to brandy and be seated.
Mind if I smoke?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm instructed to explain to you what you all have in common with each other. And unless you would care to do the honors, Mr. Bunny?
Why me?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Clue the Movie Podcast, where we break down the 1985 cult classic Clue 1 minute at a time. My name is Brad Gilmore, joined as always by Jeff Smith. And Jeff, we're 18 minutes in. I think minute 18. It starts with Wadsworth and company in the dining room, and they go to the study for some brandy, and it ends with him asking Mr. Body if he wants to reveal what everyone has in common. An uneventful minute, I would say. Not the most enthralling.
We spent some time opening the envelope.
Very strange, and I want to get to all of this. But before we do, we, a few episodes back, had our big discovery of the camera blocking in the dining room. For people who don't remember, the cook and Miss Peacock had an established relationship. We say, how does Miss Peacock not see this? And we look at the frame by frame, and there was no moment where she would have been in the view of the cook, or where she would have been able to see her. You said you were going to do some further investigation into this. Yeah,
it just seemed like the blocking that when Mrs. Peacock says this is one of my favorite recipes, Wadsworth stops, and you noticed this. This was all Brad Gilmore. That he basically stands in front of her. The cook is behind him in the kitchen, and he's completely blocking her. He's got plates in both hands. She says it's one of my favorite recipes, and he does not move until she turns her attention back. So you thought, is this on purpose? And for a good, I don't know which episode this was, 14, maybe 13, 14. But that blew our minds for a while because it was something that we hadn't seen before. So I emailed the director, Jonathan Lynn, which I haven't really done about anything Clue related since, because I don't want to overstep my bounds, but this one was just too good. So I emailed him yesterday, actually, and said I had two questions for him, because one was not one we talked about, but it's just one I've been asked at the Q&As for the documentary, is in the Mrs. Peacock's original ending, does she in fact get shot? And then number two, is Wadsworth purposely blocking her view into the kitchen? He responded with, number one, I don't remember. So that's for the shooting one. And number two, yes, I think so.
Whoa, okay. Hold on, though. Okay, so he doesn't remember if Peacock gets shot.
That's fine. That's not what we were here for. That was just like a bonus question I thought I'd throw out since you were emailing. Yeah.
But he confirmed that the blocking was intentional.
That's as good of confirmation you're probably going to get from him, too, on yes, I think so.
Well, I'll take that, though.
Yeah, so well done. You did this. This is great.
Wow, this is what this show is. Okay, guys,
we got it directly from the source.
We found a spot that we've never noticed before. Nope. We investigated.
That's why we're watching minute by minute.
It's the whole point of the show, is to break it down minute by minute. And we found one, and we've gotten it confirmed from Jonathan Lynn. That actually probably, most likely, is going to be the highlight of my day.
Oh, good.
I can't imagine anything topping that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, very happy. And he responded within like an hour, which was nice because, again, my interviews with him were years and years ago. And then I emailed him when the documentary was over just to send him a link so he could see it. And he said something, he was very nice about it. He said it was a lovely tribute to Clue. And that was it. And then this email really came out of nowhere. And he responded quick.
Can I ask you something? Because I think you and I were fortunate enough to be able to have conversations in personal contact with people who we've admired their work for so long, whether that be from a director, from an actor or an actress or what have you. And a lot of this initial conversations does occur over email. And I just want to ask, have you, when you see the name pop up in your inbox, do the endorphins start firing off a little bit?
It makes me, I'll be honest, I have a good and a bad reaction to it, because at first I'm like, when I check my email, there's a weird part of me that hopes they haven't answered yet because it makes me nervous. So it's kind of the fun of just having it out there for a while makes me like not think about it. When I see their name pop up, that initial reaction is, my heart skips a beat. And then I'll read it. Well, for example, I'm going to interview someone potentially for a new documentary on Saturday over Zoom, and he just confirmed with it today. And it was a very nice email. Not from Clue, totally different movie. And it was very exciting. But when I saw his name pop up, I'm like, oh no. That was my first reaction.
I totally understand that. I totally understand that. Because you're thinking, oh my gosh, they've taken the time to respond, and what if it's not a good response?
And now they're coming into my stupid world.
I know. It's so funny, man. It's so funny when that happens.
And they probably aren't thinking twice about it, because I wouldn't either. It's in my small little way. Whenever anybody asks, like, can you come on my podcast or anything like that, I think that's awesome. But I wonder I doubt they are thinking the same thing I'm thinking when I'm getting an email from real Hollywood.
How do you feel about publicists? Where do we sit on publicists?
You know what? I haven't had to deal with too many, to be honest. For the most part, I've been lucky that I've talked directly to the people, or they've been good about just passing it on to their person, and I've directly talked to the person. But that being said, who knows? There's plenty of people I've emailed that I've never heard back from at all. So those publicists could have been the ones that just put the wall up. And they have no idea. So maybe I don't like publicists.
I love
you, because you probably have to deal with them all the time.
I do. I like publicists. I do. I think that sometimes, like, I understand they have a weird job, right? Like, they're the intermediary between a talent and a media representative, and their goal is to protect the client and get the word out at the same time. And sometimes they're restrictive with the things that they allow or don't allow. But sometimes they really work for you. Sorry, I'm so unprofessional. My phone just rang. But you know what? I have a love-hate. Let's get to one other thing before we dive into this minute that I feel like we have to do some correction on. Because not only did we spend a lot of time in that particular minute where we just made this discovery of the camera blocking, which I love that we confirmed. We spent another long minute on Christopher Lloyd because I was convinced he was in this show called Bible Man, which is a superhero themed show that has a religious backdrop to it, and the protagonist is a Bible man. He's a man of religion, but a superhero.
Yeah.
I was convinced.
We spent a lot of time talking about Bible Man. That's true.
And I was convinced that Christopher Lloyd was in this. And I remember hearing it on an interview that he did like a decade ago. At least that's what my memory told me. Mm-hmm. So I knew we were going to do this today. So on the way, on the drive in, I said, let me find that interview. And I found the interview.
Okay.
And I said, let me listen to it and see exactly what he was promoting. And it wasn't Bible Man. I was completely wrong on this. It was a show called Cyber Chasers or Cyber Chase. Okay. And he was
cartoon?
It was cartoon.
Okay.
And he voiced a hacker in this show Cyber Chase. And it came on PBS, and for some reason I conflated Cyber Chase and Bible Man, and I don't know why, but I did that. Mm-hmm. So I just want to clean that up for everybody.
Okay. Well, we gave Bible Man a lot of. I'm sure somebody listening checked out Bible Man. So really, Bible Man We should be getting a shipment of those sweet action figures any day now.
We really put Bible Man on the map. I don't know how much airtime it's been given on any podcast ever.
I don't know.
So maybe
But-
that should be our thing. We should revive these little known shows into the pop culture sphere.
Yeah. Well, Cyber Chase is probably sounds pretty obscure too. So,
And in that interview,
that
Chris,
one actually ties into Clue.
in that interview, they were asking about all these projects, and then they're like, "Well, how do you go about selecting your projects?" And his response was, "I pretty much say yes to anything."
No, except as we
Except.
said last week or last episode, except the Clue documentary.
I guess any paid performance, he's probably game
That's
for.
true. That's true. There was no money involved.
If you had a little dinero for him,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying that he's not a true artist, but sometimes you got to make it. You got to wet the whistle.
Well, if I could help him in his quest to maybe not say yes to everything, I'm sad that it had to be me that he decided to turn on, but it's cool. I'm happy to help you, Chris Lloyd.
You know what? Like, you're doing your part. You're doing your part.
Yeah. I'm a hero, really.
You really are. And
I don't like to say that word willy-nilly, but
it's facts.
shoe fits.
If the shoe fits, wear it. So anyway, let's talk about this minute, because I have a couple. There's small things that I wanted to ask about. The unknown host. He says, when we go to the study, we'll have some brandy, and our unknown host will reveal himself.
Yeah.
We're still to believe that Mr. Body isn't the host at this point?
It's so weird because it says in their letter, as we heard just not that long ago, your host, Mr. Body.
Right.
And then he is introduced as Mr. Body.
Right.
And then now they're saying, I thought Mr. Body was our host. And who is our host? And he just does this little Tim Curry at them, doesn't answer. He sits in the back. He's just sitting in the back corner by the door. And then when he says, unless you'd like to say something, Mr. Body, and he says, why me? That's where we cut off.
And that's where we cut off.
Yeah.
Now, I know in the game, include the game, and even the stage play, it's the Body Estate is what the house is called, or the Body Manor sometimes, the Body Estate, whatever. In this, include the movie, are we to believe that this is the same Body Estate?
Well, it's called Hill House in the letter.
Mm-hmm.
It's never mentioned as his house. So, and he doesn't seem to be too familiar with it.
Like, I was wondering if it was an ancestral home, if maybe there was we're to believe that there was another Mr. Body, like the dad.
Oh, okay. Mr. Body's dad
is the Mr. Body who's blackmailing.
Yeah.
Including his son. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh. Now we're getting into like generation stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Body Senior.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
But maybe. I don't know. And here's the other thing is, if Wadsworth, if we're to believe that, because in one of the endings he's the orchestrator, if we're to believe that, did he set up stuff like the letter, which clearly says to Wadsworth, open after dinner on the envelope?
Yeah. Well, he was the one that sent he will reveal in a couple minutes that he's the one that sent all the letters to the suspects anyway.
But did he write the instructions to himself?
He wrote he's the friend. He's the one that sent the letter.
I know he's the friend, but on the envelope it says,
it says Wadsworth, read this after.
Please open after dinner.
Yeah.
Did he set that up himself? And like, no, and here's the thing.
No one else sees it. That's just for us.
No one else sees it. Yeah.
Yeah. Attention to detail, that Wadsworth.
I know. I mean, just doing it for him.
Murder mystery. Yeah.
He's just doing it for him.
That's it. He's having fun.
Now, Jeff Smith, you might think that this is out of left field, but you're a Seinfeld fan, correct?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Because do you remember in season 4 of Seinfeld, I believe there's an episode called The Pitch / The Ticket. And season 4 of Seinfeld had an arc where Jerry and George were writing a sitcom together. right? Okay. So when they go to pitch the idea of the show about nothing, the difference between the seltzer and the salsa, they go to pitch the idea to the NBC executive meant to portray Warren Littlefield, but he was Russell Dalrymple, I think was his character's name.
Okay, yes.
Great name. And they're pitching the show, and George is like, what'd you do today? And he's like, I got up and came to work. And he was like, see, that's a show. There's the show. It's like life. You eat, you sleep, you read, you eat, you read, right? And then Russell Dalrymple goes, read? People are going to read on the show?
Watch people read on the show, yeah.
And we watch Wadsworth read.
I guess, yeah.
No, he literally sits there for a moment, and he's like, okay.
Yeah, we really just slow down to a screeching halt as they walk into that room. But it's nice. We're building the suspense because in a second we're going to start going mile a minute and not slow down. So they really do take their time. Even before, when they walk from the library to the dining room, you actually see them. We don't just cut to them in the dining room. We actually follow them in. And now we're following them in as they take their seats. And Professor Plum tries one more time with our good Miss Scarlet. He does sit down and light a cigarette. But we take our time for everyone to get situated. So we're slow build.
Other thing that I noticed, they offer the guests several times in several scenes brandy.
A lot, yeah.
It's a lot of offering of brandy. And it's not even, would you like some brandy in this scene? It's help yourself to some brandy.
Yeah, we're going in there for some brandy, everybody.
Right? He says, let's go for some brandy. And then he says, help yourself to some brandy when they get into the study. Now, we'll know here in a minute that there's the brandy is suspected of being poisoned.
Yes.
Okay. Was this in the script, like trying to get the audience to really be thinking about brandy and that possibility when they say it and be like, oh yeah, a lot of brandy was offered.
In the fourth ending that's not attached, the brandy is poisoned. Wadsworth actually did poison everybody's brandy, and that's how he's planning on them all dying. Because Wadsworth is the killer in the fourth ending that they shot, but never. It's the missing fourth ending. So yeah, all their brandy is poisoned, because now as the movie goes, the last time you ever hear about that, well, you have Mrs. Peacock freak out, and then he tells the cop, not the cognac, just in case, don't drink that. And then that's the last you hear of it. But yeah, I'm sure that had ties to the fourth ending. There's still a couple things that we'll point out as we're getting closer, where there's a whole scene where Wadsworth just disappears coming up, and that was for the fourth ending, where he was the killer and he's off killing. Well, you know what? Yeah.
I think that we've talked about this minute, and there's another one that comes after it, typically. From my research, I found that to be the case.
Yes.
And I have stuff that I want to pick up, though, in minute 19.
All right.
So if we can do that, I think that this might be the end of this minute, and we'll come back with minute 19 of Clue the Movie Podcast. Jeff Smith, cluedoc.com. Any final thoughts on this minute, Jeff, before we move on?
No, let's just move on.
Let's get to it.
I'm ready to find out if Mr. Body's going to sit still in that corner, or if he's going to say, it's a hoax.
Why me? Leaving voice.
Who is this voice?
Who is it? We don't know. Well, we're going to try to find out in minute 19 of Clue the Movie Podcast. ClueDoc.com, theboatbradgilmore.com. We'll be back with minute 19 of Clue the Movie.